Welcome to the 17th reading of my memoir, The Innocence of Guilt. The end of the dream. Life in our new home had started off well, but throughout the first year, a thread of unfortunate occurrences wove themselves into the fabric of our little family, weakening it, and unbeknownst to us, setting it up for the ultimate end of my dad's dream. When did my father's dream of making a new life for himself and his family in sleepy, quaint Mildenhall start unraveling? When did I start noticing that the happiness I so desired for us had barely been grasped before it started slipping out of our hands? It certainly wasn't in February, when King George VI died at the age of 56. Kings came and kings went, and my parents showed no particular affection for the royal family, other than listening to his yearly Christmas speech on the wireless. I'm sure it wasn't when Din came down with a horrible persistent chest infection and Mum nursed him through it, not sure if he'd come out of it. It probably wasn't when David and I caught chickenpox and Dad caught it too, ending up so sick that we thought, and he thought, he would die because he wanted to. It may have been when a woman Din knew was found murdered. He had been the last person she was seen with, so the police took him and considered him the prime suspect for a while. I know that shortly after that, things began to change. Dad became irritable and lacked all sense of humour. He took to keeping a willow stick in the sideboard behind his chair at the dinner table. David and I hit a giggly stage and everything set us off. The laughter track in our heads wouldn't shut up. A couple of warnings from Dad, and still we exploded into fits of giggles. So caught up in our shared mirth, we didn't notice his hand slowly slide behind his back and reach into the sideboard for the stick. He whipped it out so fast and brought it down upon both our hands with such force, we said afterwards we never saw it coming. It shocked me that he unleashed his fury on David as well as myself, because it meant that the family dynamics were changing. I sensed something amiss. Had my father heard rumours concerning his job? Did he already suspect the worst before the worst happened? Signs were present. Arguments, tenseness, the way he sat around in the evenings, despondent and moody. And then one day it happened. The floodgates opened. Not the ones at the River Lark, but the ones holding back my father's sea of emotions. He sat at the table with his head in his hands and cried for a long time. I'd never seen him cry before. When I thought I'd killed him, he hadn't cried. Not like that. This time, Mum didn't comfort him. I soon learnt the shop was closing and we must move out and find somewhere else to live. With Dad's job gone, no money came in. Din's pension wasn't enough to feed us. David and I ate our main meal at school, but at tea time we often went hungry. We lived from one week to the next, as most people did in those days, and whoever owned the shop didn't seem to care. Mum said it can't have been my father's fault, as the shop served many customers and he was very good at figures, so he would have done a good job of balancing the books. As the realization of our plight sunk in, he became more and more dejected, spending much time crying. His constant refrain of, "I don't know what we're going to do," wore on Mum's nerves. She angrily told him to pull himself together. He couldn't manage that, though, so she went out onto the street and asked the other shopkeepers what options we had as a family. I heard them tell her to give my brother and me up to an orphanage so we would be cared for. She and my father and grandfather would have to take to the streets or go to the workhouse. By 1948, workhouses had mostly been closed due to the instigation of the National Health Service, but the one in Mildenhall may well have still existed under some guise or another, or it wouldn't have been suggested. My mother said she wasn't giving us up to anybody, and as my father was incapable of deciding what to do, she threw herself onto the mercy of the local council. "You're coming with me," she said to us, her children, her weapons for a righteous battle. "They're going to see both of you and dare to look me right in the eyes and say they won't give us a place to live." Every morning, instead of going to school, we went with Mum to sit on a wooden bench in the council office. We were to sit there for as long as it took, and every time they threw us out, she shook her fist at the office workers, shouting, "We'll be back tomorrow. You can count on it." On returning home, we found Dad crying again, claiming that we were done for, no hope for us, gloom and doom. He completely fell apart. Losing his dream job was a devastating blow, and the thought of being homeless as well, more than he could bear. The persistence of my mother paid off, but we would not be given a house or a flat. Subsidized council houses required long waiting lists. So we would be joining the 27 or so other families in a similar situation, due mostly to the loss of jobs after the war, now occupying Nissen huts in a former prisoner of war camp a mile or so outside of town. The camp occupied 12 acres of former private land taken over by the army during the war and never given back. Our new address boasted the fancy name of High Lodge Estate. When Mum told her friends of our destination, they protested. "You can't go to live there. It's a terrible place," they exclaimed. What choice did we have? It would soon be winter. Mum had to sell her treasured Cannon cooker. No gas hookup at our new address and no room to store it. Some of the furniture went too, as it wouldn't fit into the hut. Dad sold Sooty, our pet rabbit, to someone, and I overheard the man who carried him off say something about dinner, which made me fear the worst. Mum said not to worry. More important things weighed on her mind than a rabbit that none of us paid too much attention to anymore. My only consolation? That Dad hadn't killed it and forced her to serve it up for our dinner, like he did the poor cockerel back in Colchester. Only 2 bright sparks attempted to light up our departure. My bright spark. Mum at last abandoned her battle with me to drink milk in one form or another. "This is it," she announced one day, angrily mopping up yet another mess of vomit on the living room floor. "This is the last time you drink milk in this house." What a relief. Mum's bright spark. Tea at last came off ration. For the first time in 12 years, she could drink as many cups of it as she wanted, if she could afford it, that is. Someone from the local council lent us a lorry for moving day. My poor broken Dad sat on a kitchen chair on the pavement in front of his precious shop and cried as the council member handed him the key to our new home, a corrugated hut in the middle of a forest of pine trees. His dream of a better life for his family over. Thank you for listening. Please feel free to subscribe, like or comment on this reading, and hopefully you will tune in to the next one. Bye for now.